Hey, and welcome back to the Lotus Riche Night Show. I am super happy to have you here today. So come on in and get in where you fit in, because I've always got room right around my table for you, your friends, and your frenemies. So go ahead, like, share, start a watch party, run and tell somebody that Lotus Riche Ignites is hot on the box. I'm going to encourage you, grab your notebook and grab your pen, because I always say note takers are money makers and note takers are change makers. Hey, right here tonight, hot on the box with your girl Lotus Riche Ignites. Bring it in, my man, John Graham. Let's get it. Ignite and take flight for the rest of your life. Woo! Come on, share this broadcast out. It's gonna be dynamite tonight. Woo! Hey, y'all, I'm full of energy tonight. Let me tell you, I know y'all might be saying, Lotus, you always full of energy. You right, because I got this one life to live that God has given me. You know, y'all call God, I call God, Yahweh, Jehovah, whatever. Look, my curl is even excited. So look, I'm just going to tell you like it is. Get your notepad, baby. Get your pen, get your pencil, get your eyebrow. I wish I had my makeup case here, and I'll just grab my eyebrow pencil out, your eye, your whatever, your lipstick, because tonight, I've got a great guest on with me tonight, Mr. Keeping It Right, Keeping It Tight. Mr. John Graham is coming in the house tonight. He gonna do it right, but guess what? This thing is gonna be so fire. We had news you could use earlier. And guess what? I told the queen of the lymphatic balance, Pastor Hillary Gooden, that tonight we got news you can use even on the Ignite show. And so I said, Hill, would you like to come over? Because this is some news you could use with John Graham in the house tonight. And she said, sure. So tonight I have got the phenomenal Hillary Gooden in the house with me tonight. And for those of you that are not familiar with Pastor Hillary Gooden, check this out before I bring her in from the studio. Be right back.
Hi, busy women leaders. I'm talking to you. Are you juggling your family, your business, your career, and your health? Afraid that if just one ball drops to the ground, everything could fall apart because everybody's looking at you. You're stressed and overwhelmed. You're looking for answers, for help that's real help, for solutions. I have Vibrant Life Solutions that can help you. I am Hillary Gooden, the Vibrant Life Coach, author, speaker, lymphologist, and pastor. I empower busy women leaders with strategies to reduce stress and anxiety while increasing energy, clarity of mind, better sleep, better health, and vitality. Oh yeah, and boost your immunity. If you're ready for that, you say, you know, I need that in my life right now. Let's connect. You can reach me at www.hillarygooden.com. You can direct message me on Facebook or LinkedIn at Hillary Gooden. Or else if you would like to get on a free 20-minute strategy call, a clarity call, go to bit.ly/Hillary Gooden. That's bit.ly/Hillary Gooden. I absolutely believe you got the power to help your body, help you live a more vibrant life.
It's your time to live a vibrant life. Would you please put your hands together and do a virtual stand-up for my friend, Miss Hillary Gooden? Woo woo!
Hey. Thank you for having me on tonight. I'm doing wonderful, and I'm so looking forward to this guest tonight.
It's going to be fire. He is going to be fire. Mr. John Graham is amazing. You know, I shared with you about this book, this wonderful book called Plantation Theory. This young man, he went from 0 to a gazillion. I hope that's a number. He went from 0 to a gazillion talking about the plantation theory. Now, many of us are not sure what it is, but this is why he's here with us tonight. And so, Hill, I thank you for coming over on the show tonight. Thank you for being on News You Could Use. You know, you're my co-hostess with the mostest. But I got to tell you, we about to get this party started. So, folks, I always say, come on in and get in where you fit in, because I always got room around my table for you, because why? It's time for you to ignite and take flight in every area of your life. And tonight, Mr. John Graham is going to show you how. So let me tell you a little bit about my guest before I bring our guest. Hello, because it's going to take two of us to put him in the hot seat. Honey. He came in the studio and I told him it's going to take two of us to put him in the hot seat. He said, well, you know, I'm a graduate of, and I'm used to it. Hello, right? HBC.
Yeah, right. He's ready like Freddie tonight.
He is ready like Freddie. And so let me tell you a little bit about Mr. John Graham. Mr. John Graham, our guest, he is the vice president of Shaker Recruitment, Marketing, Employer, Brand, Diversity, and Culture. He's a speaker. He is an author. But most importantly, he is here with us tonight to help us do some cognitive processing on the plantation theory. And if you do not know what the plantation theory is, do it again, Hill. Do it again.
Yes. Get your mind right.
Get your mind right and get tight. So we invite you to get your notepad and pen again out tonight, because look, note takers are money makers and note takers are change makers. But look, you cannot be a change maker if you don't use the notes, put them into action. So when you come into the show tonight, let us know where you're coming in from and go ahead, tag somebody. Don't talk about it, be about it. Tags, want me to do it again? Don't talk about it, be about it. Bring somebody in, because my friend John is going to set this place on fire. And so with no further ado, I'm going to introduce to some of you, and to some of you, I'm going to bring to you this phenomenal young man who is taking the opportunity to educate, to help us celebrate what understanding the plantation theory is all about. So I'm going backstage to get him. I'll see y'all in a minute. Hey! Ho! Hey! Yes, who's here tonight? Mr. John Graham, Vice President, Shaker Recruitment, Marketing, Employer Brand, Diversity, and Culture. Come on and get in where you fit in, as he's helping global companies discover the essence of who they are at their core. That's right, he's helping CEOs navigate through the plantation theory. That's right, we're discussing it tonight. The plantation theory, the Black professional struggle between freedom and security. Welcome right here, my friend, John Graham. Only here at the Lotus Riche Ignite Show. It's time to ignite and take flight. Woo! Hey!
Oh my
God! Hey! Welcome!
That intro, that energy. I need to bottle that, package it, and sell it, Lotus.
Amen.
Oh my goodness! What a pleasure to be here,
Mr. John Graham. We are so happy to have you here with my rider right here, Miss Hillary Gooden. Yeah. For those of you that are just tuning in, we double dog dare you, share if you care. Why? Share with your friends, share with your dog Toto, so they can share with their dog Poochie next door. But also make sure you share with a friend, tell them to come on in, tag somebody when they come in, and share with your frenemies too, because you know what? your
Yes,
frenemies
yes.
need to also know what to do. So we're going to get right into this thing. John, I'm so happy to have you here. You got a phenomenal new book out, man. Oh my gosh. Oh my
Thank you so
gosh.
much.
I got your book. And
Yes,
I was sharing some private stuff with Hillary backstage before the show. I'm going to tell you, this book is something you don't want to put down. Whether you in your office,
wow.
at home, at the job, or in your private office where many of us do most of our thinking. It has a white throne, if y'all catch my drift. Okay. So,
Come on now.
so John,
Yep.
tonight we
Yes,
are
ma'am.
talking about plantation theory, the
Plantation
Black
theory.
professional struggle between freedom and security. And folks, that
Yes.
is the title of his book as well. And so we're going to jump right in. And look, folks, when you come in, like, share, start a watch party, like, share, start a watch party, run and tell somebody about the broadcast tonight. And so we're going to jump right in, and Hillary and I are going to tag team. We got to tag team because he's going to set this place on fire. And if you are ready for Mr. John Graham, go ahead and put a J and a G in the comment block below. And here we go with question number 1. Mr. John, I was going to put you in the hot seat first, but I think Pastor Hillary going to do it for me.
All right, let's go.
All
Let's
right.
go. So, Mr. John Graham, what inspired you to come to this evening to discuss this powerful topic?
Well, first and foremost, it's a pleasure to be here. The opportunity to share digital space, virtual space with Dr. Lotus is an honor, which I jumped at. So, but talking about plantation theory, the Black professional struggle between freedom and security has been something that I think is, it's the world is ready for. The timing, the universal alignment around our voices being heard. With the summer of social injustice, the murder of George Floyd, and the opportunities that were created for dialogue that we haven't had before. And I vividly remember sitting in meetings with 62, 63-year-old Black women who spent 25, 30 years in corporate and have never seen this level of interest in her story. And wanting to genuinely understand the experiences and lived experiences. So, so yes, plantation theory as a book. The opportunity to share that with your audience this evening was a no-brainer.
Awesome, fantastic,
wonderful.
Y'all just don't know right now. My little feet doing like this right here. So look, we're gonna get right into this thing because wow, we want to know first of all how you came up with the title to your new book.
Yeah, it's a showstopper when people see plantation theory. But yeah, so plantation theory came out of this notion. I'm a historian. I was an African studies major and education master's degree. So I really want to, I really seek to infuse that background in everything I do. And I knew that when we think about the relationship of Black folks and work in this country, because that is the first instance of our relationship to America was work. But if you think about 1866, when you have 4.5 million newly freed Black folks with no job opportunities, no education, no means of sustaining their own lives or livelihoods, and are now forced to compete with those who formerly enslaved them, as well as an influx of immigrants coming from all over the world, South America, Eastern Europe, Western Europe, and so forth. In that first few years, over a quarter of that 4.5 million people died. So over 1 million plus people died due to starvation and disease and neglect. A very small majority went on to lead independent lives, whether through migration to other countries or other states for better opportunity. But the majority of those 4.5 million, or the remainder of those newly freed Black folks, ended up back on plantations or in those type of labor conditions as now sharecroppers or hired hands.
Mm-hmm.
And so you juxtapose that with the modern day reality where this notion of freedom versus security. I know so many Black folks who are passionate, who have expertise, who have brilliance, excellence in their corporate jobs, but aren't empowered to do more than what's on their job description. And they're afraid to go off and be independent or entrepreneurial because of the fear of losing security, right? So this notion of freedom versus security and trying to find the balance between that is what prompted not only the title of Plantation Theory, but also the Black professional struggle between freedom and security.
Awesome. So with that being shared, I'd like to really take a look at the cover. Now, I have this in my hand, but I want the audience to kind of get a close-up view of it because it's powerful just looking at the book. It's powerful, and it brings back a lot to really look at as Americans with melanin in our skin who have been enslaved right here on the very soil that we helped to cultivate to build the United States of America. And when I saw this, I said, amazing, amazing. When I saw the book cover, but whoa, when I got into the book, and then you had the nerve, John, you had the nerve to have the foreword done by Dr. Joy A. DeGruy.
Yeah. That's right.
Now, and for those of you that's not familiar with her, she's the author of Post-Traumatic Slave Syndrome. Okay. And I got to go right to the review that she wrote because, you know, when I saw the review that she wrote, I was like, okay, all right, that's what I'm talking about. And so y'all see, I highlighted this because I was going to bring this in. So she says, with laser-like precision, Graham fuses together our collective cultural memory and experience as he captivatingly describes the contract. So many of us sign. Now, I know y'all wondering what the contract is. You got to get the book. A tacit agreement to don the cloak of cultural invisibility in exchange for the basement keys to the place, or to the palace, I should say. So when I saw that, John, I was saying, wait a minute. Still today, we're getting the keys, but not to the front door. We got to come in the basement and then find our way up. That was powerful for me.
That's right.
Yeah. And so, folks, just if you look, go to the website and let me tell you how y'all know how I do it. Go to the website. I've already put it on the link on your side. Go to the website and buy this book. Buy this book if it resonates with you. And that's all I'm going to say on that. Because Dr. DeGruy, she really put it down in just the review of the book. And so I'm saying, too, to all my viewers around the world, wow. And so Dr. Selena Pinashimo is here, and she said powerful. That's right. We got the host from the Kim Jacobs Show. It's the Kim Jacobs Show. She's here.
Yes, she is.
We get the book. See, before they even say it, pow, it's already on there. Go ahead and grab the book. So we're going to get right back into this thing, and I'm going to leave that up there for those of you that's ready to grab that book. Dive in with both feet, head, neck, arms, everything, because it's about to get further right in here. I'm just saying. So let's talk about this question. Miss Hill going to put you back in the hot seat.
Okay, so let's talk about leaving your ethnicity at the door. This is good.
Yes.
And that's chapter 1.
Chapter 1. So after, it was important to bring this to the first chapter. Initially, it wasn't going to be the opener. But my editor thought it important to start here. And leaving one's ethnicity at the door, which really zeroes in on code switching. This notion of switching between vernaculars or code or language which is something that we are taught to do very early on in the Black community when navigating white spaces. And so, it starts with a story about my 7-year-old daughter at the time asking my wife a very profound question. And I'll spoiler alert this one because I won't give up too much. But the question she asked nearly paralyzed my wife in terms of being able to answer. And so my wife came to me and said, you got to talk to her. I don't know how to answer this. And so the question that was asked was, Mommy, why do you change your voice when you call the school and when you call the doctor's office?
Yes.
And my daughter could perceive the difference in the way Mommy talked. And so when she asked me, and I told her the truth, I said, Mommy changes the way she speaks to white people so that they aren't scared. Right. And this is a notion that a concept that we have to wrestle with as we think about opportunity, as we think about reducing threat perceptions, which I talk about in the book, and putting dominant class at ease. And this can mean the difference between getting a job, whether it's on the phone screen with a recruiter, or reducing, even shrinking in size, changing the octave of your voice when you're in physical spaces. So this is something that had to be done over centuries so as not to offend the sensibilities, as it were, of overseers, masters, and white dominant culture in general.
Exactly.
So we get into it.
So here's the thing. I'm gonna try something right quick. See if we can add a little flavor behind us. That might be a little too busy, but look,
A lot of
folks,
that
y'all just saw that change, right? Y'all just saw that change, right?
Yeah.
And this is the change we do. We get colorful like that. We make up some stuff. So I want to ask all of you, do you identify with what John just said? Have you done it yourself? If you've done it yourself, say, I have. Say, I have. Okay? Because here's the thing. I have too. I think many of us in the United States and globally, because I've traveled all around the world and I've seen this just about everywhere I've gone. And so we're not preaching to the choir. We already know that this exists. But what I love, John, is that you talked about the code switching. And if any of you out there knew what code switching was before now, go ahead and put a 3 in the comment block below if you knew about what code switching is. And if you don't, put a number 4. If you didn't know, because it's okay. That's why you're here for the Lotus Riche Ignite show, because we ignite and take flight in all the coldness of your life. Okay. So let's talk about the code switching and how you learn this while you was watching your mother execute it with excellence. Because in the book, you talked about it. I got notes and everything down here. So let's talk about that.
Yeah, you'll have to figure.
Okay.
Can you hear me? Okay, sorry.
Yes. Yeah. It's okay.
You have to forgive me. My daughter's actually trying to FaceTime me as we speak.
Okay.
So anyway, yes. So I
wait, John. You might want to
that,
take that call, John.
Watching.
John, you might want to take that call. She might say, "Daddy, why didn't you take my call?"
Baby, I'm on a call right now. I cannot talk. You got to stop calling.
And I muted him, y'all, because that's his private business with his daughter. And guess what? She might come on the show and say, Miss Lotus, why my dad couldn't talk to me? I'm about to code switching. So, John.
All right, we're back. We're back at it. Thank you. We adapt in these COVID streets.
Yes, we do.
Yes. So I grew up watching both of my parents who were professionals. My father, was management at a very large auto manufacturer, executive side, corporate side. My mother, was corporate as well. Both of them master's degrees. But my mother opted out of corporate and started her entrepreneurial venture rather early. So as I'm watching how both of them navigate, I noticed how my father, spoke when he was around work colleagues or at work events, in primarily white settings. I saw how my mother trained.
Yes.
She had a consulting firm that did outbound and inbound telemarketing services and trainings for major companies.
Right.
And so she would train these telemarketers on how to give what she called good phone, right? And so it meant altering how they sounded so that the person on the other end would never mistake them from anything other than what they perceive them to be through the sound of their voices. And so I talk about how, I heard, Jamal's turned to James's and Maria's turned to Mary's, by virtue of being able to code or cloak their ethnicities on these phone calls.
Yes.
But just watching that, of course, I absorbed these things because I saw the responses and the reactions that they would get. However, there's also something to be said when you can code switch so well that when you have a phone screen interview, and then you show up in person, and the person is not ready for you to look like what you look like based on what they heard on the phone.
Yes.
So in some cases, it all caused some awkward moments.
Yes. Because when you show up, it's like, oh wait, we had this great dialogue on the phone, but how could we have had this great dialogue on the phone and then you show up and you're a man or a woman of color? And I've seen people and I've heard of people who've gotten jobs, but because they thought they were Caucasian, they were hired. My previous supervisor at a place that I won't name, he got a job at a high level of security because they thought he was a Caucasian man. But only after securing the job, one day in a meeting, it came out that he was not a Caucasian man, because 2% of black blood makes you a person who is a person of color, right? So I am very, very familiar with that. And many years ago, back in the 40s and stuff, and probably even beyond that, people, they kind of hid the fact that they were a person of color because of the prejudice that they witnessed in this country and abroad.
That's right.
So what they did, they downplayed it. And I talk about this book by Bell Hooks all the time called The Sisters of the Yam. And she talks about playing fool to catch wise. Because years ago, we were persecuted for even reading. And God only knows what would happen if they found out we was on Facebook Live doing the show. So the vernaculars that we use has helped us. And the code switching has helped us kind of take a second step above when we talk about playing the game of life. Because the playing field is not balanced. So I wanted to also first thank you for highlighting that, because that was phenomenal in the book about the ethnicity, checking your ethnicity at the door. And here's something else too. I want to trickle back to that one, because a lot of times when we do business with each other, I really think we need to check our ethnicity at the door. Because oftentimes we come in the door and we're thinking that we should receive some other than treatment because we're the other that you say other in the book. Okay. But you don't say this. That's right. We feel like we should, get some type of hookup treatment when we're dealing with people of color instead of doing the come up treatment. I'm just going to come up and deal with you as a business owner, not seek to get the hookup because you're a melanated sister or brother. So when we do business, we need to check our ethnicity at the door. Can you speak to that a little bit?
That's an interesting concept, and I've had plenty of conversations across platforms about this very thing. I have two minds of thought here. One, we need to play by the same game that our competitors play, right? And I'm very much a fan and student of Dr. Claude Anderson's in the Powernomics approach, but also in thinking about, he says this they call it race because it's a competition, right? And when you think about the other cultures that play by that identify themselves by their most common characteristic, and then they play as a team, we are the only ones who don't do that.
Right.
So you think about how there's a built-in communal obligation in other cultures, where the first thought is, if there's an opportunity to do something, I'm going to bring in somebody that looks like me, that is of my culture, shares and harnesses the same values and so forth. We don't think that way, and for reasons that are very obvious, right? Because we weren't allowed to. In fact, it was forced out of our culture to be communal and to collaborate and connect. But to your point about thinking about the hookup first, rather than approaching our folks as business people first. Well, challenges are many. We don't have scale. And so our pricing is not going to be the same as if we were going to go to another culture's businesses. We don't have a communal obligation built in. So the first thought isn't trust, right? And so we wouldn't question the price if we didn't trust it. We don't question the price at Target. The price is the price. We don't question the price when we go to Amazon or Best Buy. The price is the price. However, we don't trust ourselves. We don't trust each other enough to take the price for what it is. And the price is going to be higher because you don't have economies of scale. So there's an understanding there. Thirdly, we don't vertically integrate. So the business propositions that we have within the community aren't connected, right? It's a bunch of individual enterprises competing against each other and other cultures and dominant culture society. So at best, if we're not vertically integrating our ventures, then we're not competitive. Prices will remain high. Trust will remain elusive. So I always suggest we need to first start. A lot of times people start with economics, right? If you look at Dr. Claude Anderson's 5-point plan for self-sufficiency, it starts first and foremost with community, right? And I talk about this in the book about a Jefferson dinner, right? This dinner that my wife and I hosted with several families, and we talked about this notion of who's responsible for dismantling systemic racism and how can it be done. And the subtopic was around the 5 points of self-sufficiency in Dr. Claude Anderson's Powernomics. We couldn't get past community from 6:30 p.m. to 1:30 in the morning because it was such a disconnect between, we had examples of economic success. We had examples of political leadership from Reconstruction to, President Obama. We've had media control, with Ebony, Jet, Essence, OWN, Revolt, whatever you name it. We've had education. We have 107 HBCUs, but the one thing we do not have is communal obligation and trust. And so that if that foundation is not there, the turf, the recognition of team, the standards by which we're going to transact, operate with each other, communicate, the value systems we share, then everything else on top of that will fail and falter.
Wow. So folks, if you coming in, if you just joining the broadcast and you're trying to figure out vertical integration, trying to figure out communal obligation, trust, he laying it down. Get the book. So with no further ado, I want to go right to someone that you talked about. And although we don't own the rights to this wonderful video, I want to talk about what you just shared with about Dr. Claude Anderson. So I want to go there for a moment, if I may.
You don't have a code of conduct. You don't spend your money with any and everybody.
Can you hear that?
And that's the problem. We spend 96% that we get in our hands. We spend it with people that are not a member of our group or our race. 96 cents out of every dollar goes immediately to people other than Black folk. And we got a $1.3 trillion budget that passes through our hand annually. We don't spend it with our Black people. We impose poverty on our own people.
People are more concerned about buying Black now and supporting Black-owned businesses than ever before.
I'm sorry.
So I'm going to stop it right there, because here's something that you said: trust, communal obligation, and vertical integration. And Dr. Claude Anderson made a very powerful statement. We don't do this.
Mm-hmm.
We don't do that.
That's right.
So with the Plantation Theory book, The Black Professional Struggle Between Freedom and Security, how can we develop a sense of vertical integration, communal obligation, and trust? How can we do that? Can you give us maybe 3 tips on how we can do that? And folks, I always say note takers are money makers. So if you have not taken a note, what are you waiting for? You have precisely, without a doubt, you've got 30 seconds. Get your notepad and pen before Mr. John Graham goes back in. You've got 30 seconds. Here goes. It's your time to get in where you're fitting with Lotus, Riche, Ignites, and our fabulous visitors tonight. What? The queen of the lymphatic bounce, Miss Hillary Gooden, and our guest, Mr. John Graham, as we are talking about this amazing book, The Plantation Theory, The Black Professional Struggle Between Freedom and Security. All right. And so we've talked about this wonderful book with our phenomenal guest, Mr. John Graham, and of course, Miss Hillary Gooden is highlighting it over here tonight. And we just talked about a couple of things, and these things are vertical integration, communal obligation, and trust. And Mr. John Graham is going to give us 3 tips to help us with these ideas, concepts, and things we need to embrace. So I hope you got your pen and your pad, because note takers are change makers. John?
Yes. So I'll simply say there's a couple of things. One is a little bit unorthodox. I've said before that I think the most pressing example of our communal obligation at play, our ability to coalesce, connect, collaborate without question, is at a cookout. When the cha-cha slide comes on at a cookout, what happens? People look around, they get up, they go to the dance floor, they get ready, and they go. Did anybody take a poll, get consensus? Are we going to do the same steps together in time, in rhythm, in unison? No, it happens naturally. So it's not a matter of capability. Yes. It's what are we applying that communal obligation and connection to? So that's one. Right. Just study the cookout next time you go, and just watch those moments of where we don't need consensus. If you think about Black Wall Street, Tulsa, Oklahoma, if you think about the hundreds of Black thriving communities, Tulsa being probably one of the most successful and most well-known, vertical integration meant that each business owner, each member of the community had a part to play for the success of the whole. This unfortunately disappeared, was disintegrated or destroyed at the point of integration, right? When 1964 Civil Rights Act, Black communities now had access to white communities patronizing white businesses, leaving their communities to go to white schools and so forth. What we know is that we still have a generation or 2 in some cases, if we're fortunate, who lived through those times, who had to rely on Black-owned businesses because there was no other option. Start talking to your elders.
Yes.
Find out what the daily commitment looked like. What sacrifices did they make to ensure that they supported their neighbor, their local corner stores, the local repair shops, business people in the community and organization, and take notes. There are blueprints for this, right? This is not, again, a foreign concept. We've done it before. And I'll say lastly, start having more conversations about open creativity of what a new Black community would look like. And I don't just mean places where Black folks live, because that doesn't necessarily make it a community. That's more of a neighborhood. And in this case, a lot of times we don't even know our neighbors' names. But what would it look like if you were to dream of a new community where there were and start by thinking about what would those requirements be to live in the community. Think almost like a homeowners association, right? What would that agreement be for membership and maintain status within this this community? And start to think about what are the requirements? How are we going to greet each other? How are we going to transact, engage, support, hold accountable without, admonishing, but to support and uplift? Like, these are the conversations. We're PhDs in our traumas, but it's hard to create and fathom what freedom would feel like if you've never tasted it. And so I would say let's commit more energy to speaking of what the future could look like. And there's plenty of blueprints and resources around to fuel those conversations.
Awesome. I love it. And so as we talk about conversation, I want to go right to our viewers, and I want to thank each and every one of you for coming in tonight, especially those of you that join us week in and week out, sometime almost every other day. You're here with us, and we're happy to say thank you to you. So thank you, Angela Elting from Washington, D.C. We're happy to have you. Hill, who else do we have?
Oh, we got, oh, wow. Celestine. I'll go with Celestine Kombaka. Might said that right. Watching from Kenya, Nairobi. It's lit, though the date has passed.
All right.
I know.
All right. And Easy is coming in from Manila. Great to see you. Who else do we have? Mr. John, this is an interactive presentation. Go ahead, Mr.
Lola.
John. Who we got?
What's going on, Lola? That's a very good friend of mine as well. Brilliant sister.
Fantastic. And of course, we got Kim Jacobs from the Kim Jacobs Show. She says, hi, John. Hi, Lotus, Riche, and Hillary Gooden. She said, wow, great topic. And of course, we asked folks to give John some love coming in the house. And of course, we got some J's and some G's put together. JG. All right. And we got Dr. Selena P. Nishimo. She said, looking forward to hear all about JG. I told you he was coming, and he's dropping mics. Okay. Kim says, yes, it is an honor. And what else did she say, Hill?
Incredible forward.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. Unfortunate. Dr. Joy is a national treasure for sure.
Yes. And Wang Lee, hello. How you doing, Wang Lee from Benando? Happy to have you here as well. And of course, they said where they get the book. And of course, y'all know I'll put it in the chat on your side. So all you got to do is click on it. Dr. Selena Pinashimo said powerful. And Kim just bought the book. So let's hear it for Kim. Woo woo! And if you got the book, let us know that you just bought this very powerful book. She said very enlightening perspective. Okay, Lawana Parker, how you doing? She said, my mom did. My mom did.
Thanks, Mom.
Fantastic. And if you would, John, go ahead and read that.
Let's see here. Lola Bakari says, globally too, I hear Nigerian people adopt British accents when talking with white British people. Very true. That is a code switch.
Yeah.
Code switch. I also want people to take into perspective that code switching is not relegated to marginalized people. White folks do it as well.
Exactly.
But it's typically along class lines, right? So when you see somebody of lower socioeconomic status in a place of higher class or higher net worth or socioeconomic statuses, they dress different, they alter their speech. And when white folks are around Black folks, you see that sometimes they change their speech patterns. So
exactly. Of which I don't like. I'm sorry, John.
It is
which
problematic.
I don't like. Yeah, I don't really care for it because we actually had some folks from the fire department come out here over a month ago, I think it was, and the fire person, he showed up, but his vernacular was not my vernacular, and I guess he thought that's how people of color speak because he judged by my pigmentation. And here's the thing. The way I spoke to him, I think made him understand that's not acceptable, because that's the thing, because people group us by the color of our skin. Even Caucasian people, we group them, many of us, by the color of their skin. Chinese people, African people, from Africa who have darker pigmentations. We group them. And I think this book, The Plantation Theory, is causing people to wake up and realize that it is pervasive, not just from an African American or a Black American, however you identify. It's pervasive. And so we've got to come to the full awareness of what's in this book about the code switching and a plethora of other things. Because I don't want to give too much of the book away, because we want to have John come back next time after some or more of y'all have read the book, so we can hit some of the later chapters. And so here, John, I want to say, Kim said it was hilarious, Daddy balancing life. Yes, so tell your daughter we said hello. And we have Phyllis Weaver from North Carolina. She said, "Good evening, friends." And she said, "It's a way of life. The norm code switching. It is." And then she said, "Speak the truth, Dr. Lotus. Give the brother or sister a hookup." Y'all know what it is. And of course, Kim said many good points. And Miss Hillary, who else do we have speaking to us tonight?
Oh, wow. We got the incredible Barbara Holmes Smith with us. And she says, "Say that, check your ethnicity at the door. Stop looking for a hookup. Approach us as business people." That's just how she would have said that.
Yes.
Just
Trust is key. Yes, it is. And you know what? Yeah. She just came back from Africa. She was over in Africa. Yeah. She had a phenomenal time. So it was great to see you, Barbara. Welcome back home. And Miss Phyllis, what did she say, John? And then we're going to get right back into things.
Yeah, she suggests that we've been socialized that because of our lower prices, that usually affects our average economy, they deem our service to be not as good as the mainstream business. Yeah, and when you hold Black business to a white standard, you'll always find yourself left wanting.
Exactly. And I think this also trickles into what Angie said. She said, many kids today don't know their family history or community. And you know, John, I was with my family this past weekend because a family member passed away. And I got to talk to my aunt, who's approaching 90 years of age. And I sat there and I listened to her. We talked about some plantation theory, and she really enlightened me to a lot of things. And you know, John, I said, wait a minute, I need to be recording this. So I took out my camera, and you know, I got my professional camera all in the face. I took out my camera and I began to record, because she gave golden great nuggets. And that is where we've got to go back. And so let's go back to our next question, because I think it's really important, because you shared about the code switching. Now let's talk about what is assimilation development, and how did you become aware of it when you were faced with some challenges with your former supervisor?
Yes. So I was dealing with consistent challenges of communication with my direct manager, in which case I had one-on-ones with their manager on a biweekly basis. And so I brought these challenges up. But as we were talking in general, I just asked the question, you know, when you hear development in a professional setting, what does it mean? You know, because you hear the term, you know, whether it's learning and development, whether it's leadership development, what's implied with this term development? And so assimilation development is this concept of, you know, really being absorbed into the culture of a company, embracing, adapting, understanding the norms, the cultural values, and what's expected from certain levels of leadership. To which then, you know, led me down a path of also hearing, you know, from that manager, that leader, around the topic of me having communication issues, that I needed to understand the weak signals and the tea leaves in what this person was saying. And it really vexed me. I mean, it took me a few weeks to really process that. And it wasn't until I had a conversation with a Black colleague of mine who said, yeah, I mean, we don't talk like that, right? We weren't we weren't raised to be vague and veiled and coded in the way that we engage. And so after digging around and really thinking through communication styles culturally, I was reminded that African-centered cultures don't have gray areas in speech, right? Things are very absolute. Either they are or they are not. Right?
Exactly.
We don't deal in this veiled and coded language, but it's a very Eurocentric concept or notion to withhold your intention, to be veiled and not direct. And that then led me into a whole nother study, which I don't talk about in the book, but I've hosted clubhouse rooms around the hidden language of corporate America.
Yes.
And there's an entire psychology theory or psychological theory called pragmatics or conversational pragmatics by Paul Grice, which talk about these embedded cultural norms of placing the burden onto the listener to understand what's being said. Rather than the speaker being direct, transparent, and honest. Yeah. Because transparency and honesty are not synonymous, right? We hear transparency, we think honesty. That is not what honesty, that's not what transparency actually means.
Right.
So all of these things coming to the forefront of understanding that we don't speak the same language in corporate America, right? This notion of assimilation doesn't factor in that unless you're in proximity or have access to dominant culture, language growing up, or going to a historically white institution, then we as Black folks at best are speaking about 80% of English.
Right.
And if you understand the history of European culture, especially around nobility, this notion of politeness and not offending the sensibilities or being, offensive, is built into the way that they communicate. And you realize who colonized America. Then things start to add up and make sense as to why this practice is baked in. And they did studies, and children at 5 and 6 years old, white children were doing this that young because it's modeled in the home, it's modeled in the schools, in media, and their churches or sports teams. Like, it's reinforced societally from dominant culture. Whereas if we're not exposed to it, we're entering corporate spaces at a deficit.
Exactly. And so I want to share something with the folks. And I always like to make sure we give a lot of detailed information. So on your side, if you want to know about the Gracian theory, when it comes to pragmatics, you can go there and you can check it out, because what John is saying, it is unequivocal that you've got to know how to speak the language if you're going to thrive in corporate America. I worked for Kodak for many years, and I've worked for some top corporations. And here's what I found. When I learned how to speak the language using the right vernacular, inflection, and body language, it made a huge difference globally in my travels. When I lived and worked in Japan for a number of years, I had to learn all of those things that made me more pleasing. And people wanted to deal with me because I understood how to transmogrify the behaviors that I had been conditioned to have here in the United States as a person of color, whereby understanding that I could just be who I am. But once I learned other cultures, the real me could show up. But at the same time, I was using their culture to weave my way in to say hello. And it makes a huge difference. So I want to ask this question. Well, I want to read an excerpt from your book, if I may, before Miss Hillary puts you back in the hot seat. So in your book, you went, and this is in code switching. I want to go here for a minute because this part really stuck out to me. It says, this stealthy identity shift was mainly because my mother would develop the scripts. Write that word down, y'all. Scripts. For the inbound and outbound calls, and train the employees on how to give good phone. That's what he talked about earlier, which was a term she came up with to define great teleservice. And I'm bringing that portion back up because if we go to any company, what typically do they give us? They give us a script. And so when we're maneuvering through life, we have to understand that people are using scripts on us. So the question becomes, do we know about it? Get the book. And so I want to thank Mrs. Robin Hurd Graham. Mrs. Robin Hurd Graham. And for those of you that don't know who Mrs. Robin Hurd Graham is, I'll let Mr. John tell you.
My first fan, actually, that would be my mother, one of my biggest inspirations and biggest supporters. It is not uncommon for my mother to pop up in clubhouse rooms that I'm speaking in and jump in, and she's got more knowledge and value added insight than I could ever have. So it's it's an honor and a pleasure. Thank you for shouting out. I believe she's listening.
We may have to get Mrs. Graham here because her knowledge, a part of her knowledge is in this book. And that is why we have to learn from our elders, because what they have to impart in us will change the very trajectory of our lives. What do you think about that, Hill?
Absolutely. You know, with my mom, she went through a lot of things being the first Black in different situations, and her as a child, and then later on as an adult on jobs, being the token Black person, the token Negro, you know. So yeah, I've learned those things, a lot of things from her as well, you know, how to be.
So get in where you fit in. Go ahead and start a watch party, and let's get this word out about this phenomenal book that he is sharing with us tonight, because you're in the right place at the right time to learn all about the plantation theory, right? It's the Black professional struggle between freedom and security. And for our counterparts all around the world, this is a wonderful time for you to learn about some of the struggles that we have in the office with you, about some of the struggles we have when we come to your establishments, some of the struggles you have when you come to our establishments, and the why. The why. The why is between the lines of the book, but you got to get the book to get the lines, right? So I'm going to double back. And I'm going to do one other thing before Miss Hillary puts you in the hot seat, because we're drawing nigh to the close of our broadcast, and we've got to bring John back. If y'all want Mr. John to come back, please go ahead and put a number 10, because he's a perfect, well, I don't want to say perfect God. I know nobody ain't supposed to be perfect, but God, John is the man. Put a 10 in the comment block below. And when you put that 10 in the comment block below, go ahead and there you go. Make sure you get that book. Make sure you get this book. It's amazing. You're going to love it. Go ahead and grab your copy of the Plantation Theory right here. This is a book, a must-have book for this year and every other year to come. This is the book. So go ahead. You can grab it on Amazon. You can go to the link. I've left you the link. Dr. Joy A. DeGrew, she said you need to get this too. What can I say? And make sure you check out John. Check him out. Connect with him. You will be happy you did. Get the book. And then we're going to talk some more, y'all. Get the book. Okay. So with that being said, I think Dr. Hillary Gooden, the queen of the lymphatic valves, gonna put you back in the hot seat.
All right now.
All right, so this is our final question of the night. So John, let's talk about absoluteness in the ancient cultures that still exist today.
Yeah, I think I stole the thunder on that one, but yeah, I mean, there's there's still, I think the takeaway there is that, and a very good friend of mine, doctor of psychology, Dr. Janine Shelto, talks about living in two different racial realities, right? And understanding that how we approach situations, how we approach environments has a lot to do with the racial reality we view the world through and exist in. So I think if we're talking about doing, this work, I'm a DEI consultant, employer brand builder with Shaker Recruitment Marketing. And what we're helping companies do is to start thinking through what are those default norms that we expect incoming talent to assimilate to. What kind of language are we expecting them to already have? And if they don't showcase it, what are the implications? What is the liability for not being able to speak these, these different languages or understand these norms? If we think about, African immigrants who come to this country and do quite well, right? Excel.
Yes.
They have, the friends that I have that I'm very close with, their commitment to success and navigating these hallways by doing what's required. There's not this, we have debates and discussions all the time. Some of my good friends about, Black Americans versus, Black African immigrants, and the differences in how we operate, right? And so that's a very long conversation, and probably a whole nother conversation as we think about diaspora, experiences versus Black American experiences. But this commitment to doing what's necessary to excel, right? A different push and pressure and communal or family obligation to success and all of these different things. Those are things that are baked into the culture. And I think that Black Americans and Black folks from the diaspora have a lot of cultural exchange to do still. Right. Yeah. We need to understand. I very much love to sit in the homes and watch the different norms of my Nigerian family friends who know that anywhere they go in the world, as long as they have a Nigerian family member there, they're good, right? And can stay for as long as they need to do what they have to do. Like these concepts, the cooking, all of these things, we need to exchange more culturally and build some better bridges to understanding there. But yes, yes, indeed.
I concur. Can I just interject here?
Of course.
When I thought it was really a great move that you said. You were talking about a dinner and there were 4 or 5 families that came together. Yes. That's what it's going to take too. Getting together and having some conversations to open up some of this stuff.
That's right.
I love that idea.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's
right.
It's not a notion that I came up with. A very good friend of mine who hosted what's called a Jefferson dinner. I sort of expanded on the theme and made it a Jefferson Obama dinner, but it's this notion of bringing brilliance together, right, from different walks of life, different industries, different backgrounds, socioeconomics as well, and having a discussion around a singular topic, right? So it doesn't leave way for getting off topic, but you're bringing this collective brain power together to really dig into some complex issues. And it's amazing what you get out of it. I mean, it's the concept of diversity in the workplace and all of the benefits that having diverse perspectives brings to a business solution. Why aren't we doing these kinds of things in our homes, in our personal time amongst families from different backgrounds, walks of life, and socioeconomic beginnings?
Yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah, thank you. Looks.
So, Dr. Lotus, you just kind of letting this kind of flow on the wave.
So listen. I said, Hillary, you trying You trying to burn his booty up, ain't you? You just went there. So we do have one. We do have one last question that we're going to ask Doc. I call him Doc. But listen, folks, if you have a question that you want to pose, and thank you, Miss Phyllis. She got the book. Thank you so much. We appreciate you. We appreciate you. Love it. Thank you so much. And I'm gonna thank you right now, John, for my autograph copy of the book.
Hey.
I appreciate you. I'm happy to invest and support you in this movement and this way of life, right? Way of life. And Phyllis said, thank you for all these golden nuggets and the nuggets. Y'all don't forget the nuggets. It's the little morsels that fall off the big nuggets, right? So listen, folks, we're going to come back. We're going to take a quick break. We're going to come back with the final question of the night, and then our final words of wisdom, because we are just past the top of the hour. But this has been a remarkable show. And for those of you that's just joining us, make sure you hit the replay, because the topic is fire. Plantation theory, the Black professional struggle between freedom and security. So look, we'll be right back. And if you still have not gotten your notebook and your nuggets, and you still have not gotten your book, what are you waiting for? Move into action. We'll be right back.
Thank you for watching the show, and be sure to follow us on Instagram, like and share, and let us know that you care. Also, let us know what other type of shows you'd like us to present just for you. Thank you.
All right. So we had some snafu, but guess what? Y'all stay put. Check this out. Oh yeah, y'all thought we was gonna stop right there. You know how we do it here at the Lotus Riche Night Show. We keep it right and tight. We have Mr. Graham here this evening. He came, he saw, and he dropped the mic and did what he liked as we talked about plantation theory. He's been helping people all around the globe with their companies discover the essence of who they are and who they want to be. Now join in with me and grab that book, Plantation Theory, as we discuss the plantation theory, the Black professional struggle between freedom and security. Woo! Share this broadcast only here on Lotus Riche Ignites. Keep it right and tight with John Graham and get your Plantation Theory book tonight. Come on.
I love it.
Yes, welcome back to the show. And we are at our final question for the night. And we want to thank each and every one of you for keeping it right and tight as we discuss the plantation theory, the Black professional struggle between freedom and security. And so our last question tonight is this: the world doesn't stop when you're at work calling in black. Can you tell us what that means?
Yes, I can. I think I think it became more familiar in the past year, especially with the murder of George Floyd, and this notion that when something so traumatic happens that we see, and we see it on repeat, when we see the killing of somebody that looks like our brother, our cousin, uncle, father, sister, mother, auntie. And then we have to go into work the next day, and we're sitting in meetings, where people are asking about deliverables and project timelines and costs and things that are so far out of your mind because you're still dealing with and processing what you've seen, witnessed, and your own fears, fears for maybe yourself, fears for your family members and loved ones who may be at risk just walking out of their homes. And so this idea of calling in Black or calling out Black and taking that time for mental health to really sit with and process the emotions you're dealing with and being confident in taking that space and taking that time to not go into what can sometimes be hostile environments or indifferent environments. And I talked about an experience back in 2016 when the world witnessed Philando Castile's murder on Facebook Live. You know, when I went back into work, I had coworkers asking me, how was my 4th of July? And I was so withdrawn. I was angry. I was hurt, scared. And for that not to even be on their radar. Right. And so now I think, with not only a pandemic, but also the world's coalescence around action and social justice and conversation and dialogues that haven't been had, and a focus on mental health and the importance of it. This idea of taking that space and taking that time to really collect your thoughts when you just aren't feeling it, right? And take care of yourself and your own mental health before returning to these environments at work.
Right. Awesome. So, Miss Hillary, well, I really want to say, what do you have to say in regard to what he said? And then we'll go right into our golden wisdom nuggets, final words of wisdom after Dr. Hillary.
There were times I worked predominantly with all Blacks, and there were a few whites. So that was a whole nother situation, and we had quite a few Africans that worked with us. But what I found amazing is that just like what you were talking about, you come in after some horrific event happened and you come to work and people weren't talking about it.
Yep.
And these are African American people. And I'm thinking, am I the only one here? How could you just go with the day like it's just any other day? I don't get it. Is that, what is that? I don't even know what that is. So I can only come from that perspective, but I've seen the same type of thing working among my own. So
right.
I don't even know what to call that, Graham. You would have to help me out on that one. Yeah. And I just wanted to say that.
Yeah, I appreciate you calling that out. Sometimes we don't have the language, nor do we have the security,
right,
to bring these topics up in a work environment, because historically these are things you don't talk about at work. Right?
Exactly.
Politics, religion, race,
and sometimes you can't even talk about them at home because your parents oftentimes has been so socially modified not to talk about it out in the open, and they don't want to talk about it behind closed doors because, let's face it, it is a tough subject. And what do you tell your children when they're looking at you looking for answers? And sometimes you don't have the answers, and that's real talk.
That's right.
Yeah. We got to talk about it, and that's what your book is doing. And I think it's awesome, that you've given yourself permission to be the one, to dig in and dive in and enlighten people.
Yeah. And that's powerful. That's powerful. And so as we talk about being enlightened, we talk about really learning more and doing more. As we begin to close, Go ahead and share your love with John tonight. I encourage you, if you want to change your life, if you want to change the life of someone that you know and that you love and that you care about, I encourage you, go ahead and get the book. It will help you. It will help.
Oh,
I don't know if y'all seeing this, but my screen went black. Did y'all screen go black? Did that
It
happen to
went
y'all?
black, but it
Okay.
went quiet.
Okay. Well, check this out because my screen went black. So here you go. I won't be quiet.
I
I
won't
won't
be
be
quiet.
quiet.
I know that's right.
That's what
I
that
won't
book
be
is.
quiet.
I won't be quiet.
Grab your
Now,
book today. Grab your book today because it will change the trajectory
mm,
of your life. And you probably never heard this before, but I'm going to say it. It will change the trajectory of your thoughts. And thoughts become things. So, what thing are you trying to create from your thoughts? Do you want to free yourself from the plantation of your mind? Try that on for size. So, with no further ado, we're bringing final words of wisdom right to you from our amazing guest, Mr. John Graham. The stage is yours, Mr. Graham.
well, thank you so much, Dr. Lotus, for having me. Ms. Hill, it has been a pleasure. If I could leave you with any parting words, it would simply be to know that this book is not designed to provide you the solutions. It is not going to give you the practical tips and tricks to solving workplace diversity, equity, and inclusion challenges. What I do promise and guarantee is that it will lead you to ask better questions. I believe that if you're not asking better questions and expecting different solutions, then there's a disconnect. And so I want to push people out of discomfort. I want to push people, out of comfort into discomfort and really revel in some of the questions that I pose and see how those could be applied in spaces where you're seeking a change. We really have to focus on and examine the lived experiences of marginalized talent, which is the work that myself and countless others are trying to do now. But it all starts with better questions. So thank you. Thank you again for the opportunity.
You are very welcome. Miss Hillary, would you have your final words of wisdom for the show this evening? And thank you.
Absolutely. The thought just came to me as our guest John Graham was speaking, is that this book is provoking that, I don't even know what to call this, but poking the bear in the room. You know, it's going to create conversation, you know, because when you poke the bear, something's going to happen. You know, you either going to get free or you're going to get caught up for real, you know. But even in getting it, it's still a way of navigating to your freedom. And I think it's time for, like he spoke at one point earlier in the show, it's time now that more people are ready now than ever before for this poking the bear in the room. So thank you, John Graham.
Awesome.
Thank you, sis.
Awesome. And folks, y'all know my final words of wisdom. I don't have to tell you, but I'm going to tell you. Support my broadcast, please. And thank you. I love you. I appreciate you. It is because of folks like you that support my broadcast that I can do what I can do, but not just me. People all around the world with a message for the world that has to be heard. And so it's folks like John Graham that's helping us to help ourselves absolutely make the change that we want to see. You know, we are living in different racial realities. And it's okay. But here's the thing. We got to make sure that we are asking the right questions. And his book will help you and me and people around us to think and ask better questions so we can live better lives. Is it the be all end all? No. But is it a book that will open your mind to help you think about plantation theory and how it's affected you and how it can change you? Yeah. So you got to get into discomfort so that you can get into the comfort of freedom. So those are my words of wisdom. And don't forget to join me tomorrow night on the Lotus Riche Ignite Show. And join us again on Friday for more news you can use. And until I see you again, thank my friends, Hillary and John Graham. Thank you so much. So look, folks, we appreciate you. Make sure you share this broadcast. Make sure you like this broadcast because we're going out doing what we know how to do and bringing Lotus Riche Ignites to each and every one of you. All right, we're going out dancing. Y'all ready to dance a little bit? Come on, y'all. Hey, let's get it. Let's get it. Woo! Hey, John Graham came to the show tonight, y'all. He did what was right, and he showed us about what? Yeah, you got it. Plantation theory. That's right. Helping global companies discover the essence of who they are at their core. That's right. And he's done it for you tonight. With plantation theory, the Black professional struggle between freedom and security. I'll see you next time. Woo! See you next time. Only on the Lotus Riche Ignite Show. Thank you to John Graham and Hillary Gunning. Good night, ignite and take flight in every area of your life.